This special video is all about getting prepared. There's a wide array of things happening in the economic system, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle that needs to be put together. Often, when looking at one piece of the jigsaw puzzle, the financial jigsaw puzzle, and seeking to understand how it fits in with all the other pieces can be quite difficult. What I'll focus on in this video is to put the pieces of the financial jigsaw puzzle together right before your eyes. There's a lot to cover, and a whole lot of connections that need to be made. When you've made those connections, you will feel much more certainty on where the economic system is headed. You'll understand a better game plan and how all the jigsaw puzzles relate to each other. With that said, let's run the numbers. Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS. My goal is to assist you to become more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love, gaining an insight into financial markets and how they are interdependent and intercorrelated, but also to gain control over your mindset so that fear doesn't reign your decisions. If you're new, a very warm welcome and welcome back, KS family. Please note I don't have WhatsApp or Telegram. The markets in the past 24 hours were very green. All sectors recorded a 1.33% increase. The heat map looked really good, with across-the-board gains. The crypto market also performed very well. One thing that professional traders and investors understand, price is always moving in a wave. Masterclass students, you get my live chart in TM6. We saw in the last trading session a collapse in the VIX, which led to the major indices rallying. We saw a bit of a normalization in bond prices and a lift in yields. We saw the DXY, the US dollar currency index, just continuing to break down. Gold overcame a key strategic level and has rallied up to nearly $2,060. Oil continues to grind higher, and when we look at junk bonds and corporate debt, they're also indicating risk-on behavior. The S&P 500, currently 41.46 and 21 cents, overcame a smart money sell level, turned it into support, and it was an important one from 41.03 to 41.11. There's another smart money sell level from 41.57 to 41.66. Just be aware of these. These two levels are major levels inside the market. Gold is currently $2,044. When we look at a gold chart like this, you may be tempted to use recent indicative price or RIP or story-based analysis. We don't do those things. We look at the structure, the market structure of gold, to reveal where smart money is buying and selling. Gold actually overcame a very important structural point between 2014 and 2025. Actually clearing that level has cleared gold for an upward price move. All professionals look at the market in terms of levels, not in terms of price. As an investor or a trader, if you just look at price action like this and you don't know where smart money is buying and selling, it can be a really confusing market. That's why I invented the CTKS method. Here, what we're actually doing is marking up gold's support and resistance levels since 1883. These shaded areas represent where buyers and sellers are intersecting. One thing that you can see quite clearly, if we get above the next smart money sell level, which is a weaker one, that's ranging between 2045 and 2052, the next smart money sell level is up a long way. It's from 2100 to 2108. Without the CTKS method, you would not know where smart money is buying and selling. My goal is to share my more than 30 years financial experience with you. You can learn all about the CTKS method either from ctksmethod.org or inside the masterclass. It's very important to understand the financial jigsaw puzzle. The PPI, the Producer Price Index, has been coming down, and it's a leading indicator of what the CPI or the Consumer Price Index might do. Why is that? Because the Producer Price Index, if the products that are being produced by producers, their price goes up because raw materials are going up, or energy costs are going up, debt costs are going up, whatever the costs that are going up, producers always pass on those price increases to consumers. Hence, if the PPI is coming down, we expect the CPI to also come down. We're seeing an upward tick in initial claims for unemployment benefits. This is exactly what the Federal Reserve wants to see. It wants to destroy demand. And according to the statistics, it's not over yet. There's a 67% probability that the Fed will hike interest rates by 25 basis points at the next FOMC meeting, even though the PPI is coming down. One thing that should poke out in this particular chart, we're seeing a decrease in the PPI very similar to the decrease before the market sold off traumatically in March of 2020. The Fed has been talking about a targeted federal funds rate of between 4.75% and 5%. You can see that the federal funds rate is starting to curl over. Many of the very positive things that are happening inside the stock market are related to a Fed pivot. I'll show you another example of a Fed pivot. A Fed pivot occurred in around March 2020 when the markets started to sell down. Just be aware, if you understand the mechanics of a Fed pivot, you don't want one. So far, the markets are not pricing in recessionary risk. Many people do not understand that stock markets are powered by earnings. If earnings are going up, the stock market goes up. If earnings are collapsing, the stock market doesn't do well. Right now, 2023 consensus earnings per share, or EPS, is falling off a cliff. It's down 13% since June of 2022. This means that we must be prepared for the S&P 500 and other major indices to come down. What are major indices doing right now? They're doing anything but coming down. They're rallying. One thing to note, back in March of 2020, the warning signs all were there, and anybody who could look at it and see it clearly saw it coming for many, many months. But the markets rallied and rallied and rallied up, and then finally crashed. We must get psychologically prepared for a downturn. That doesn't mean a downturn is happening tomorrow or next week or even next month, but we must be prepared psychologically. All professional traders and investors think in terms of 3 dimensions. They don't wait until a crisis happens. They already know what they're going to do. If prices go for them, go nowhere, or go against them, they think in this 3-dimensional manner. Big bank earnings are coming out for JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo. This is a very, very important thing to understand. The market is pretty happy, but there's a problem inside the banking system, and it's a big one. In this particular chart, you can see the variety of different years along the horizontal axis and all of the different banks up and down along the vertical axis. What you actually see is the deposits change from year earlier. The red indicates more than 20% change, and the green indicates more than 40% positive change. What are we seeing in recent times? Because of the banking crisis, we've seen depositors actually withdraw their money from banks, and this has been fueling gold and fueling crypto. The banking system is really, really, unfortunately, unhealthy. Banks' total reported unrealized gains or losses for each quarter is just blowing out to levels that we've never seen before. If you look back to the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis between 2008 and 2009, it's a molehill compared to what we're looking at right now. You must be prepared. The net income of all US banks per quarter is increasing, but it's increasing at a decreasing rate, and we can see that through these different bars. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank has dragged the banking system down an abyss. It's seeking to recover right now, but it has a lot of headwinds. We can see in terms of emergency lending, the amount of emergency lending is coming down across the banking system, but it's at very, very highly elevated levels. The top 15 US banks have been very, very hard hit, as have the top 10 European banks as well. A loss of confidence inside the banking system is leading to hemorrhaging. That's why we've seen money market funds and gold and crypto do incredibly well. But one thing to notice when it comes to money market funds, you can see that's increasing at a decreasing rate, which means we may be headed for a bit of a downturn in this. Inflation is driving the Fed's policy. And recently, OPEC Plus announced a cut to output. There's a very strong link between inflation and oil prices. If oil remains around the $75 per barrel, US inflation is expected to fall to 2% at the end of 2024. But what if oil actually makes its way up to $120 per barrel? That would mean inflation doubles from the base level target up to 4%. OPEC countries are responsible, not OPEC Plus, just OPEC, are responsible for 80% of the world's oil. Unfortunately, the political divide between OPEC countries and the US is increasingly broadening, and the ties between OPEC countries and China and Russia is increasingly becoming more intimate. Oil increases the price of transportation, it increases the price of operating businesses, it increases the PPI, which increases the CPI. The thing to remember, the PPI and CPI are coming down, but they're incredibly elevated over their historical averages. Please let me know in the comments, how does the increase in the oil price affect you directly? And it was so fantastic to see responses in yesterday's videos about coffee. One thing to bear in mind, world markets are estimated to be undersupplied by 2 million barrels per day in Q4. We're not seeing the full impacts of the OPEC cuts just yet, so please bear in mind that oil could actually break out of its current price. And that's why WTI has been on its longest run of weekly gains since December. Many people feel that oil will collapse in price because the Fed will push the economic system into a recession or even worse. But what you can see here is that may not necessarily be the case. OPEC is the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, and you can see those countries listed here: Iran, Kuwait, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and so forth. I thought it would be really interesting to show you the statistics on OPEC oil production inside those OPEC countries. We can see from around the 1st of November 2022, all of the OPEC countries have either flatlined or potentially reduced, with Iraq reducing the most. One thing to consider, oil production and oil export are two different things. I'm only showing you production. Why is that? Because oil production is the baseline, the key statistic that we need to look at. One thing to note is also the scales used. Saudi Arabia produces 10.464 million barrels, and that is the largest OPEC partner. There is a geopolitical shift occurring, and that could actually pump up gold prices as well. Just something to bear in mind. The markets are still very much risk on at the current time, as shown by the CTKS leading risk indicator. It's very good to understand that Bitcoin as a proxy for the crypto market is just reflecting what's happening with the CTKS risk indicator. Turning to crypto's greatest gainers and greatest losers, and remember, there are always opportunities inside the market. When I'm going through and showing you what the dark side of the market is, always there are periods of sunshine. and especially if you can trade those. If you're a long-term investor and you're not a trader, I very much urge you to pick up the skill of trading. The greatest gainers in crypto past 24 hours, top 100, ARB, Woo, Rocket Pool, Optimism, Aptos, Convex Finance, and LDO. The greatest losers, we can see stable coins. It's been a while since we've seen all stable coins in the top losers list. This has been primarily caused because the S&P 500 broke across that key smart money sell level. We can see the Crypto Fear and Greed Index putting on a bit of a retracement here. More optimism is flowing into the crypto market. If we look at Google Trends, we can see that uptick is occurring as well. And this is for Bitcoin as a search term. There's a lot of quite interesting news. The London Stock Exchange Group may provide clearing services for Bitcoin derivatives in Q4, and this follows the movements by the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is expected to launch a crypto custody service in the first half of 2023. In other news, Hong Kong is officially supporting crypto. More than 10,000 crypto enthusiasts and 300 guest speakers gathered in Hong Kong's Web3 festival. Web3 is the Internet of Value. Web2, which you're currently looking at, just a browser, is the Internet of Information. The chief executive of Hong Kong pledged nearly $90 million to fund accelerated development of digital assets. As the US tries to clamp down on crypto, Asia is opening up, and as well as London. However, some state senators have different ideas. The state senator for Arizona, Wendy Rogers, proposed Arizona's government make Bitcoin acceptable as legal tender. Turning to Bitcoin, which is one of the world's most sensitive risk-adjusted commodities. If we look at Bitcoin like this, without our SLs or SCs, our Stanfield levels or Stanfield zones, which are made apparent under the CTKS method, we just really don't know whether smart money is buying or selling, or where it will buy or sell. By turning on the CTKS method, it's a completely different story. Bitcoin is currently $30,713 and it cleared a very, very important smart money now buy level from $29,957 to $30,166. Just like gold, Bitcoin's overhead resistance is minimal. The next level of smart money sell resistance is going to come between 32,196 and 32,309. Remember to always have your three-dimensional thinking playing out at all times, but the probability is that we'll get continued momentum to the positive side. There's always a melt up before a melt down. One thing to note, on the 18th of April, Gary Gensler is to appear before the US House of Representatives Financial Services Committee. Repeated attempts by that committee to get documents out of the SEC have failed. Sam Bankman-Fried's arrest actually prevented him from testifying. Keep a note on the April 17th deadline for the SEC. We've seen a flurry of activity by Gary Gensler, anti-crypto flurries of activity, and it's all to do with hiding the ball under the cup and say, look over here, don't look at me. I also want to thank James from Invest Answers. James made a video in November called Connective Tissue. I urge you, if you haven't seen it yet, go and have a look at it. James does great work. A lot of people have been asking me for screenshots of the different charts that I use, so I thought I'd just pop it on Twitter and hopefully that helps out. We have an incredible global family. And to be part of it, all you need to do is just to make a comment. My focus is to give you the skills required to become your own financial advisor. Yesterday, I talked about digital gold or PAX-G. It's a fantastic product. I remember when I was buying gold, especially from the mint, I had to pay for storage fees. I had to pay incredible amounts of money just to buy it in the first place. With PAX-G, you don't pay anything. It's just awesome. And the beautiful thing with PAX-G, it actually gives you the right to take possession of physical gold. It's just amazing. Can you imagine when they do PAX-O for oil? I would be buying that for sure, but I don't want to take delivery of oil. There are so many incredible comments that are made by our global family. I'd really urge you to read the comments. They're amazing people. As a global family, we believe in positive excellence. Emotional control is very, very important when it comes to investing and trading. The world is changing very, very quickly. Having an optimistic outlook on life is incredibly important even when we see so many data points pointing towards chaos. If you've made it all the way here, you're an incredible person. Your commitment and dedication will be rewarded inside the markets and, of course, inside life. To let me know you've made it, perhaps just put something about positive excellence inside a comment. If you're new to the channel, just reach out and say hi. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you everybody for your fantastic comments in yesterday's video. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends. Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.